In this video, we're going to look into another filter type for our validation and sanitization in PHP. So let's get started. We will gonna use this previous example for the upcoming video, so we will gonna store it. We will not gonna remove it. And here we will gonna keep it. So now we will gonna discuss another form, another function you can call, and it is filter var. Alright, so what's the difference between filter var and filter input? So let's talk about that first, and then we will jump into the details of this function. Well, the difference between var and input is that you can clearly see this filter input, it is directly accessing the post or the get or any data that is coming through the input of the user, and then directly accessing it and filtering or sanitizing it. On the other hand, filter var sanitize or validate the data that is stored in the function variable. You mean in a application variable. You must be wondering, oh, whoa, what's the big deal around this? You can go ahead and do this and use the filter var and totally eliminate the filter input. Yeah, you are right, we can do that, but again, the developer put this function for some reason. So directly accessing the input give you a less amount of number of lines to write as compared to writing this line. And imagine that you have more than 30 input fields. You have to just add these to convert the post variable into a single variable. Again, two drawbacks: storage, it will gonna consume more memory, as well as increase the line of code. So that's the reason developer introduced filter input. Now let's jump into the var. So now as you can see, we have three inputs. I'm gonna name them all here so we can use them for the example. Now if I bring back the input function, to give you the differences. Here you are adding a type. We don't have a type because every time we are using a variable. Second, it was asking for the name of the variable that you are trying to filter or sanitize. We don't have that because the name is already given here. So instead of two argument, it is only taking one argument. And the third one, filter type. So in this case, filter email we're gonna use, and that's the difference between how you define the function. It takes two parameters or three, and it takes three parameters or four if you are adding an option or flag. Same here, you can add the option and flag here. Now one thing I wanted to explain here, what we did with the filter input, we can do the same thing with the filter var. So I'm not gonna repeat the same examples again, and I will gonna try to cover more types of filtration and sanitization to give you a little bit more taste. So even if we use this same function options, we can just copy this, paste it here, and use the number. It will work exactly the same as this filter input. So whatever we worked with the input, filter input, it will gonna work with filter var as well, and vice versa. So the first one, we will gonna use the sanitization, and we will gonna go with the URL. So let's say you have a URL and you wanted to sanitize it. You are sending it to a API or somewhere where you want to encode it. Make sure that it is encoded so we can eliminate the chance of getting error. So for that, if I do echo, there is a filter type sanitization, filter sanitize encoded. What this will gonna do, it will gonna encode your URL into a encoding form. Let's try that. I will gonna remove this. I will gonna comment that, save it, come back and refresh. So now URL, I will gonna add http Google. If I submit here, you can see it has encoded all of our special characters into the URL encoding form, which we can send further to API or any external sources. And there are many cases where you need the URL to be encoded for JavaScript. Now there is another example. Let's say we're gonna take the example of special characters, which we previously encountered that in our escape sequences lecture, where I told you there are some predefined special characters which you cannot define in your string, otherwise you will gonna get the error or the problem. So to encounter that, let's add one variable str string, and we will gonna say he is a good teacher. And now if we directly use the str and encode the special characters, and the sanitization for this is magic QUTES codes. This will gonna change this string, you will gonna see, and add backslashes. So if you are using single code, or if you are using this as a special predefined character, it will gonna add automatically another backslash to render it properly. This is a magic code, or you can say a predefined character sanitization. You can add backslashes to the special character to avoid any error or warning while you are displaying or sending or calculating something. So this is for the sanitization. Now jump into the validation. So for the validation part, let's take a validation from the number. I will gonna remove all this, and validation only return true or false. We can go with the varnum. I will just gonna copy this varnum, and this time we will gonna filter not the input array, we will gonna filter the var, which is our number, and this time we will gonna filter with the float value. Float value means the value with the decimal number. So for that we have filter validate. Instead of int, which is integer, we have a float. So this time it will gonna validate our variable. So let's see, if I refresh here and add the number like plus abc 1 2.5 and u, it is returning false because it is not the valid number. If I say 4.6, it is returning 4.6, which means the value is perfectly okay. So this is the validation for the floating number. I will gonna give you another example to wrap this up. This time we will gonna go with the validation of IP. For instance, you are registering a user and you want the user to insert their IP. You can directly take it, but just for the sake of giving example and the number of filtration that are available, I am just giving you this example. If you are taking a variable stored in the post or get, which is giving you the IP of the user, you can just use the filter validate IP. So if you save here, come back and write a number that is something ABC, which is not the valid IP. If I say the number 1234 or some random number, it is false because it is not the IP. Now let's give the correct IP, 192.168.2.1. It is the perfect IP. So just wrap this video up here, and we will gonna come in next video and discuss the filter var array. So take care for now. Bye bye.